Hi, welcome back to my decorating series. We're going to go inside, go back to the 16th floor, and finish with a meeting room. So, I wanted to make this entire floor a floor of amenities. I figured that they made the most sense as a group to put together, and after the other two spaces that I created, I figured a meeting room would make sense for, a variety of things. And I knew that I wanted lots of tables, lots of chairs, and I wanted to keep it relatively simple. Now, I will say that I thought that I was going to be using those giant tables from, I want to say it was an Ariel related pack from the premium shop, because I've only used them used it in one other space. And so I was like, oh, I could use that giant table. That would make a ton of sense for a meeting room. But after I started looking at some of the more basic tables that we have, and we have them in a ton of wood tones, there's some marble varieties, there's even a glass topped one, I realized you could butt them up right against each other and they would be almost a seamless look. And I thought that that made a lot of sense for a meeting room, because you would want it to be adjustable, like kind of modular. And although I really do love those Ariel Little Mermaid tables, I want to say they're like the seaside dining table or something like that. They're just so big. And when I was looking at them, I'm like, if I were working in a hotel, I would never want to move those tables. They look so heavy. So I ended up not using them, and then had all of these other kind of wood tones and varieties down, and then started looking at the walls, floors, and ceiling to decide on which tone I wanted to go with, since I had such a wide variety of options. And now I've decided that I'm probably going to go with the dark tone. I thought the marble ones looked really cool and the glass ones looked really cool. They actually looked like something I would think of as a place for a meeting. Like this, the look of them looks very, businessy, I guess. And I knew we had chairs, like the modern chairs that might go with them really well. But they also look like they might be a pain in the butt to move around. So I ended up picking the wood tone and the dark wood tone because I thought it went well with the windows, and the windows were the other piece that I was 99% sure that I would want to use in this space, because they also feel kind of businessy, executive kind of meeting room. And they also look like something where you could pull the blinds down, and maybe if you had like a video or a projector that you were showing some kind of presentation on, that it would be easy to make this room darker and easy to see a projection, but then also allow a lot of light in here. So now I actually really wanted to put a giant screen in here, because I was like, oh, a big presentation, a big screen, and it wouldn't go. I think that there was only one of them that would go on the inside. I don't know why it lets me try and put it down in here, but I don't think I can actually use it inside. So I think that's just a weird kind of anomaly. It really shouldn't be available for an option to put down. So I ended up just going with a screen, a flat screen. It's not as big as I would like, but that's okay. And then I set up the room kind of in a standard looking layout, but I added a couple of extra tables so that in case, you needed to reconfigure this room for a variety of types of meetings or gatherings or something like that, you could, move tables and chairs around to accommodate whatever the person who was renting this space would need it for. I also wanted to put down some kind of buffet style tables. I thought, some meetings or maybe, other types of gatherings that could happen in a room like this would require some kind of catering or, just even if it's just snacks or something like that. So I definitely wanted to include those. And then now I'm just trying to kind of finalize how the room could kind of look, just sitting here without being a particular function. Wanted to make sure it had some decent lighting. And then although I didn't want to put a ton of stuff on the walls in here, I didn't want to leave everything blank. So I opted not to put anything behind the television because, again, I kind of wish it was a little bit bigger, and I didn't want something behind it to distract from whatever might be on the television. But I did pick a couple of really big pieces of art to take up the other sides, or I guess the outer sides. And now I'm just adding a little bit of touches. Decided I needed to go, oh yes, I needed to go get some other chairs. I ran out of the ones I was using, and I just wanted to make sure that there was plenty in here. You could theoretically take tables and chairs out of this room if necessary, depending again on what the space was being used for or reserved for. But I really wanted to leave it almost kind of in a display state. Like, this is what it could look like for your gathering if you wanted to come and take a tour and decide if you were going to use this space for whatever your function or meeting purposes were. And yeah, just kind of just double checking to make sure. But I really didn't want to fill it up with a lot of stuff. Again, I wanted to make it kind of look like it could be anybody's space, so that depending on who came and wanted to use it, could modify it based on their personal needs, their party needs, whatever. So now I'm just picking out some food. I wanted to pick a few things that look like they could be, you know, hors d'oeuvres or something that you could option in for your rental needs, you know, just kind of a example, I guess. So there were probably a lot more I could have chosen, but I decided to keep it simple and yeah, just fill in a little bit of that empty space so it looks a little more lively and staged. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. So we're wrapping up the 16th floor today. Feels really good. I'm feeling pretty good about this concept for the last 5 floors. We'll see how that feels after, you know, I get through a couple more floors, but I really like playing around with these multifunctional space ideas. I think this one turned out pretty cute. I like how simple it is, but it definitely has that feel of if you wanted to take a tour and see if the spaces, like the facility, met your needs or could meet your needs. And it's almost like when you look at apartments or condos or something like that where they stage, I guess they probably do it for when you sell a house too, where it's not very personal, but it definitely gives you the idea of what the space could be like for your needs. And I like the fact that it doesn't feel too, I don't know, cold, because my original idea was to use a lot of the modern stuff. And that, I think the metals and kind of the leathers feel a little bit more like you would find in an executive building. And because this is kind of a rental space within a home space, I like the fact that it ended up feeling not quite as businessy, although you could use this for business purposes. It feels a little bit more, I don't know, cozy business. I don't know if that's a thing, but I like the fact that there are brown tones and some, you know, interesting patterns going on. Again, I enjoyed mixing some different aesthetics. I think the door is Princess and the Frog, and the carpet, and I think those new banners on the wall are Lion King, and then there's some Sleeping Beauty. But again, just enjoying kind of a different way of creating some spaces while we still have a few floors left to experiment with. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.